Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Adam Steele, and joining me as always is Mr. Liam Wright. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are
Hello.
you?
I am exhausted, but good.
Good. Exhausted is not good, but good is good.
Yeah. Long day. Good old 14-hour day.
Yeah.
Standard.
I spent most of my day writing emails, which sounds easy, but actually kind of isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I spent most of yesterday video editing, and that was easy because that's what I do. And
I spent most of yesterday praying for a recovery in crypto. I lost lots of money 2 days ago.
it's all temporary.
Yeah, well, kind of. I traded some stuff into. I tried to guess how it was going to recover, and I got it wrong. So.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Well, not got it wrong. As you say, time will tell.
Yeah. It was less than the perfect outcome.
Well, it was until about an hour ago when Solana decided to drop again, so I was quite happy about that. I was like, haha.
Fair enough.
Anyway, on to the music. What
yes.
have we got coming up tonight?
All sorts of stuff. Did we do a podcast last week?
No, because we were out at the pub celebrating.
Yes.
To get married.
So this happened. Da, 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 da. I got her married, and it's purple and sparkly. And so I decided to treat myself to a new lens to celebrate, which is why it looks really nice this week. I got an Olympus 17mm f1.8 for my Micro Four Third camera. So
nice.
Yeah. So now, if I put my hand out towards the amp, it's completely out of focus.
Mm-hmm.
And that way also out of focus, which means I have to sit in one exact spot. But yes, it means that I've got the same amount of light on as I always had, and it looks like I'm on a floodlit football pitch. But yes, that happened, and now everything has calmed down, so hooray. And so I've got back to editing and emailing all the companies from Gear Street and being like, hey guys. So tomorrow morning I'm going to be sending an email out to the patrons on Patreon, who will be getting quite a few of our videos early now that we're back to being caught up again. Because we were doing a week early release for the patrons, and thank you again, as always, to all the patrons for your support on Patreon. Last couple of weeks have been a little bit mad because of Germany and because of the wedding, so we didn't have anything in reserve. So now I'm going to go the other way and be like, have videos. Dunk. So yes, hello everybody, welcome into the chat, make yourselves at home. I'm drinking a cold, refreshing beverage. Feel free to join along.
I have water.
It's been a weird couple of days. It was a heat wave last couple of days, and then today it just hoofed it down.
It did.
So
I know, I missed the window to mow the lawn. So, but oh well.
It'll dry out again.
It's Manchester. We had 3 days without rain.
Winter will come, it'll freeze over, that counts as dry.
Yeah, I guess so. Seems legit.
Yeah, it'll happen at some point. Ironically, I mowed the lawn last week before the wedding, and yesterday I was, as the sun was going down, I was spending extra time watering the grass. And then today, shouldn't have bothered. Never mind. But yes, a lot has happened in the last couple of weeks, music-wise. So it's quite a big episode of The News. Ooh. So let's go to The News.
Let's do The News.
But first, the intro, then The News. You're listening to the Hop-O Podcast every week, Thursday, 8 p.m, or on iTunes and Spotify and stuff. So, there we go. Thought I'd get that in for the audio version for people listening on MP3, so there's actually something to do over that. I might start doing that every week now, just leave the microphone in for me specifically and just go, you're listening to the thing with the stuff. So yeah, hello everyone in chat. Chris, Nick, Van Deen, Danny. Hello everybody.
Hello.
So yes, this is the big news this week. I was just about to start talking to all my friends about getting an Airbnb and getting flights for NAMM.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not happening in January. It's been moved. So the NAMM show announcers. Usually there is the NAMM show, which is in winter, and there is Summer NAMM. So they've decided this year they're going to combine them both. So it's kind of summer winter the NAMM show in January. So yeah, they've moved it to the middle of June, which a lot of people are saying, June in LA, you're going to kill us all. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you're in an air-conditioned hall. Just dart in between the buildings as if it's radioactive outside and you'll be fine. But yeah, one of my good friends now, Alex Nasler from Gear Gods, was saying he lives in that area and it's actually not that much worse in June. It's just bad all the time.
Yeah. Just all the warm.
All the warm. So yeah, as long as you prepare, it's not that bad. Now, I personally think this is a really good move from the NAMM organisers because, you know, a lot of restrictions haven't lifted yet.
Yeah, like we'd probably struggle to get to the States. Someone, Stu from Warrior Collective has been dying to get to America for 2 years to film more volumes.
Yeah.
And he's decided he said, screw it. And he's now going to go to Canada for 3 weeks.
Right.
And then go down. So he's going to be away for like 6 weeks because it's the only way he can get to the States.
Right. Like full quarantine period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think it's 2 weeks in Canada.
But he's going to make something of it while he's there.
Yeah. He'll probably do on his laptop. I don't know what their quarantine rules are, but he can actually go, which is something for him.
That's fair. So yeah, that's one thing. So yeah, it looks like it's going to happen in June, which if we can go, that's nearly a year from now.
I'd hope that. I mean, we'll have had another booster jab by then and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah, it seems to be going that way. So yeah, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now to start looking for an Airbnb now, because that's a summer break, which means that you're competing with trying to get a house when Disneyland is at its peak.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, gonna have to do that soon. But yeah, I mean, gonna have to try and book everything on those kind of tickets where you can get a refund if things get cancelled. Because yeah, that's I really want to go and I'm looking forward to it, but got to accept that there's a high percentage chance that it might not even happen. And yeah, with all the paperwork that I went through just getting back from Germany, which is 500 miles ish away, imagine the amount of stress trying to go 3,000 miles to a place that's got Americans in it. Yeah, so this is it's in the same place as always, but yeah, it's interesting to me that they've from what I heard, the Summer NAMM this year was disappointing to say the least. It's mostly empty. But I think that's because a large number of the companies just couldn't get in there. And didn't want to get in there, and there's still all the doubts and but by combining the two together, it's not going to double up per se because the same companies were probably going to both. But still, it does mean that there should be enough people there to make something decent of it.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Hopefully.
But that gives us 9 months, relatively. I think it is just about exactly 9 months to get the protocols in place, see what happens with the rest of the world, think about it and prepare more. And preparation is key.
Mm-hmm.
So the old joke about Namthrax is it's not funny anymore.
Well, no, because we're pretty sure that we caught the illness last year, didn't we?
Yes.
There.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been a joke that people go home with a cold, but yeah, that's a little too real now.
Mm-hmm.
And considering most people who go year in, year out do genuinely say that it's beyond anecdote when you're in your 10th year and your 10th cold.
Mm-hmm.
Worrying stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely be bringing, regardless, bringing a mask and it's a hand sanitizer
Yes.
just for not getting sick.
Yeah.
Like it just like yeah, wash your hands, hand sanitizer. In a place like that, I'll have that little anti-back balaclava thing that's easy to go up and down. Like we don't, it doesn't look like people are as we had kind of like people from Asia that wearing masks all the time before this used to sort of think, oh, that's a bit over the top, but just stops you getting sick. Like it's well worth it just for, not getting a cold.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's funny that the whole like Eastern thing about wearing masks being normal. Do you remember the SARS outbreak years ago? Guess what COVID-19 is a variant of?
Yeah, SARS, yeah.
Yep. So those guys have literally seen it all already. And that's why they're all like, well, this is what we do now. Except the West haven't kind of gotten over themselves yet.
Yeah.
Largely, anyway. Hopefully that'll change as cultural norms adapt. I mean, we're a more connected society than we've ever been. Marty says, yeah, maybe just skip NAMM and do all the European shows, if any. That's the problem. There aren't any. There's Music Messer, and apparently that was terrible even before COVID hit. So, yeah, that's it was terrible because the brands just didn't show up. So the reason people go to NAMM is not because it's in America. It's because it's just the event. It's the event where all the businesses go. And I mean, you're not forced to go, but in terms of some of the make or break business decisions that happen there, I mean, you kind of are forced to go as a lot of the companies because you need to make those deals in person. And those are the kind of deals that can be multi-million-pound deals that will change the fortunes of a company.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you say, "Oh, screw it, I'm not going," yeah, okay, there's your profit for the year down the toilet. For some companies, not for all companies, of course. For some companies, like if you Gibson or Fender, you literally go to show off your new shiny gear, and you can just do whatever you want. Because if you pick up the phone and call a guitar shop and go, "Would you like to have Fender instruments?" they're probably going to say yes. It's not like you're a less known company where you're trying to phone around the distributors and go, "Have you heard of us?" No. Well, let me introduce you to. Yeah, that's a lot of what happens at NAMM. Is it's not just for guys like us who are the press to go around and take photos and videos of all the shiny new stuff. Yeah, that's a part of it, sure. But that's the surface level. There are so many meetings that go on behind closed doors at NAMM. I mean, I know guys like Guillaume, the CEO of Two Notes. I know him fairly well, I would think. And I know that they have a soundproof meeting room at the Two Notes stand. And I've seen lots of people go in, and I've seen lots of people go out. And you ask him, what was that about? And he says, well, I'm not telling you. Because those are the kind of deals that change fortunes. Yeah, that's what NAMM's for. And of course, there are a lot of cultures and customs where that meeting face to face is worth 1,000 emails and phone calls. And big companies won't sign agreements without meeting in person, which is, if the world keeps on the way it is, that's going to have to change.
Yeah.
But it's not going to change yet because a lot of the people in charge are old school. And they do things in a way where that's what they do.
Like your dad. Your dad was talking to me about exactly that. Like
was he?
After the wedding.
Yeah.
He's been moaning people not meeting face to face anymore.
Well, that's the thing. My dad's very charismatic. And if he gets in a room with someone who he can sell a product to, they're probably going to walk out with a slightly sore head and a armful of his equipment. But the phone call's not the same thing. And it's one thing having a product you can sell to the public as a large company. It's another thing entirely it being in the shop close to that person for them to go and buy. And it's the connection between that makes the big businesses go round. And that's where that's where a company like Anderton's, or one I keep coming back to, they've been the biggest success of the last 10 years. They did the YouTube thing first. They got there first. They then went to NAMM and would corner these big companies and get them in a private meeting and say, we're doing this, we're getting traction, we're going to become one of the biggest retailers in the UK. Why are we not stocking your products? And that's the difference. So now Anderton stock all the products, and so they make all the sales. And that means that it's a circle of life kind of thing, that now the first place that most people look when they think, oh, I'm going to buy guitar gear in the UK, Anderton's. Because they probably have it. Yeah, it's fascinating. Joey says it's not unlike game conferences or events like CES. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I remember Joey is the engineer at Spectre Digital. He was telling me about Gamescom and how he was at Gamescom a couple of years back, and there's a lot of that goes on in that industry as well, where meeting those kind of people can make the difference between you being a guy in the crowd and you being a guy stood talking to the CEO of a company.
Right.
Yeah. And then once you've met someone in person, then you can send 1,000 emails because it's like, oh yeah, I remember you. Yeah. Good chat. And that's why I, even despite all the worries and the risks, that's why I went to Germany a couple of weeks ago, because making the connections with the people from the companies, I can now say, like, I know the people from this company, that company, and I can just call them and be like, hey, I've got an idea. And they don't go, sorry, who are you? They go, oh yeah, Adam, how you doing? Let's talk. Yeah. And it's a massive difference. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no, definitely. Yeah, definitely is.
But of course, there is the massive risk, and with everything that's gone on, so we'll see how it goes. Now, let's move on, because we're going to start going in circles talking about the same thing with this one. So, from a meeting to something you can do on your own. The Wazer Air headphones we talked about on the stream when they came out. I've now had a chance to play with a pair, and they are really actually quite incredible. But these are the new Wazer Air bass, so these appeal specifically to me. You put these on and you stick the little jack in your bass, and it sounds like a perfect bass amp coming from next to you. And I've not tried this bass version because it's literally just been announced, but I have tried the guitar version, and it's a bit weird. In a good way weird. They work on their own. You don't need to use the phone app, although the phone app is there if you want to do something like add a metronome or add a backing track into the headphones. But what they do is you can choose between a few presets of different amps and how much gain you want, that kind of thing. But then here's where it gets clever. You can put the amp in a space. You can put the amp in front of you, or you can put the amp behind you or to the side of you. And it uses binaural processing, and it sounds like it's there. And it's got an accelerometer or something in it, so that if you put the amp, say, to the side of you, you can set it so that if you move your head, the amp stays in the same place. That gets weird.
I thought you said that's not what you want with headphones.
I didn't think it was, but then it's as a practice tool. It really is quite disarming. It's weird. It just very quick. It felt horrible, and then after a few seconds, it didn't.
Right.
And yeah, there's something about it that, I mean, as a tracking tool, it'd probably be awful. But if you just sat practicing your scales or whatever, it's actually kind of cool. But yeah, my mate Jamie Humphreys, who's Brian May's guitar player, was playing because he brought these with him, and he brought a Black Star travel guitar because he's the kind of guy, he's on the go 24/7. So when we weren't doing Gear Street, it was in his hotel room with these on, practicing, so that as soon as he flew back, he could then film his next video.
Right.
And for him, it just meant that it was enough. It was good enough and real enough that it just became an extension of what he was doing. And yeah, I completely get that. So yeah, there are applications. I think it's really good for certain things, not so good for other things. But Yeah, and it comes with the app to change the tone, all that kind of stuff. If you're really mad, you can get a wireless MIDI expression pedal to do like wah and volume and stuff with your foot wirelessly.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bit mad. But it is a lot of money. And I don't know why the bass version is, like they say, €120 more than the guitar version. That is a lot. €479 for the bass version.
I don't know.
So, yeah, maybe it's because it's a smaller run, so it's higher build cost. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so. I would have thought they'd just changed the chip inside of it to be different tones, but
I wouldn't have a clue.
no, me neither. So, yeah, but it's a thing, and it's a thing you can buy. So I'm going to see if I can annoy the guys at Boss and see if I can get one, but if not, I won't cry. They look cool. Might be a nice Christmas present. Anywho, I mean, I couldn't actually wear them in this heat. You might notice I'm wearing the 650s again. Don't worry, everybody. My VSX headphones are not broke. They're here. They're fine, but it's just too hot to be wearing them for anything other than what I literally have to.
Yeah.
Because,
I've not been wearing headphones.
Yeah, those headphones fit so well that in the heat, you just leak sweat. It's horrible. Yes. Now, here's something that I knew about but couldn't say until the news broke. The Diesel VH Micro is a new head from Boutique Amps Distribution. There we go. I can finally pronounce it. But yeah, Diesel are making a tiny little version of their VH4 head, the VH Micro.
Okay.
And it sounded really good. I was in a video for these. I can't remember whose it was. I think it might have been Max Solo. But the whole week is a complete blur. And I tuned these in and the Diesel sounded pretty good. So, yeah, apparently they're accidentally for sale in Japan at Ishibashi, but they shouldn't be yet. But they're out very soon. And it sounds like a Diesel. It sounded a little thin to me, but there's a deep control, which on the original Diesel, if you turn it up more than halfway, the ground moves.
All right.
Yeah, but on this one, I had to turn the deep all the way up, and then it sounded like a Diesel again. But this is a little 30-watt solid state amp, and it doesn't sound like it. Really quite impressive. So yeah, miniamps.com. That's where you're going to find all the mini heads. There's a Friedman one, and there is a Bogner one as well. And they're very cool little things.
They do look cool. I like.
Yes. So yeah, go and pre-order one if that's your thing. Oh, there's a little image of the back there. Yeah, so it's solid state out. It's got an effects loop. And it's powered off 24-volt DC, which is a bit weird, but it kicks out some volume, I'll tell you that. So, IK Multimedia have added their X-Gear pedals, like this one, to Amplitude 5. This came out yesterday. I just got an email and I've just upgraded to Amplitude 5.1, which now includes these.
Oh.
And so, yeah, the software versions are now in there, allowing you to try them. There's a 72-hour trial period for each of the pedals to see if you like them. Yes.
Not bad.
So, yeah, if you decide you like them, then through the custom shop, then it's €149.99 or dollars for the plugins for each one. Woo!
Hello, Detroit.
Hello, Detroit. Yes. That does seem like a little much to me. But, I mean, I can't set the prices, but I'll have a word with the guys at IK. Again, going back to the thing I was talking about, going to Germany, making relationships. I met those people. Really nice. So, they can't base their word entirely on what one YouTuber says, but if enough of us say it, they'll probably rethink. But the real ones, these are $299 and come with their equivalent software version, and that seems more reasonable to me. That would be almost like paying $280 for a good pedal and then $20 extra to get the software version. that makes more sense to me monetarily because that's got a physical thing that I can, I can take away and take on tour and take to the practice room.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important because, I don't know. It's all well and good having these to play with on your studio rig, and I say studio rig, let's be honest, most of this is going to be project studio, home studio, bedroom studio. Amplitude already has a lot of these sounds. What makes this unique is the fact that you can upload it to your unit and take your unit out to the rehearsal room and then on stage. And so I don't know if I'd pay $150 or euros to not have that, but I would pay $300 to have that.
Right.
It's the tangibility and the take out on tour and take and play with my friends thing that I think does it for me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I will very soon be connecting these two. Hello.
Sorry.
That's fine. From what I think Tia from IK said that this particular unit that I have can't be updated to the new version because this is pre-production, so they're going to send me an actual like production one to do a proper video with because hardware changes. Because this is like a pre-pro model, so I can get some of the sounds out of this, but from what they were saying, it won't talk to this new software update just because they didn't have the right chip in here to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-production, that kind of stuff happens. So, very soon, and that's one of the emails I didn't get to send today. I got through most of my list, but I'll keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one that I'll be doing very soon. So the X Vibe lives. Why does that one have 5 knobs and this one has 6? Oh, one of these is just the parameter knob, which I suppose you don't need in software. Right, cool, got you. Right, so moving on. Ibanez.
Ibanez.
Yes, Spanish brand. Have just released a new low-cost Strat style, I'll say it, range called the AZES.
Mm-hmm.
And I played a couple of these at Gear Street, and they were really nice. They definitely played much better than their price point would suggest.
Mm-hmm.
Marty says, yeah, that's $1,200 for 4 pedals, though. Yeah, but have you ever bought Strymon stuff? That's more expensive. Yeah, for people who want that thing, they will pay that money. That's not all of us. Yeah. I imagine a lot of people will probably buy the one of these that suits their needs, which for me is the X Vibe. That's why I ended up with the yellow one, because especially as a studio guy with a wall full of amps and a bass player, I don't need a drive pedal. And the reverb and delay were for more like shoegazy and bluesy and rocky kind of guitarists who love that kind of stuff, and I use it very subtly as salt and pepper. So, that was the one that worked for me. But yes, getting back to the Ibanez articles. So they're doing a couple of choices of hardtail and ones with a wiggle stick. And I mean, at this price point, I definitely found that the ones with a hardtail bridge were much more stable, and that's almost always the case. That anything with a whammy bar, if you've got a cheap guitar, that's going out of tune fast.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh dear, Poo Ninja's been fighting a migraine on the moon. Moon migraine's never good.
Oh no, don't want a moon migraine.
No. Oh, so it's based on a poplar body, which explains why they were so light, paired with a 25-inch scale maple neck. That's interesting, because a 25-inch scale is the PRS scale, which is halfway between Fender and Gibson. So it's a bit looser, so it's got a bit of that stretch, but it's not floppy.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Poo Ninja's here perfectly in time for the Ibanez. Yes. But yeah, apparently it's a 9.5-inch radius-ish, which is very vintage. Actually, you can see in the picture how round the fretboard is. You can see how the frets have got that kind of hump, which is a very vintage thing. It makes it really nice to play, but bends don't do so much. But yeah, like I say, there's a version with a wiggle stick, and I don't use them really. I see the point of them, but nah. My nice PRS has got a trem on it, and I'm looking at it thinking I need to block that off because it makes life hard. I mean, not just because the temptation to wiggle, but because it's wiggling, it's free floating. If you put your hand down on that bridge, even slightly, everything's out of tune.
Yeah.
And then it's in tune again when you take your hand off, so you can't even just kind of retune and carry on as if nothing happened. Because then you're even further out of tune the other way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a play of these, and they sounded really good. And you can wire them with this complicated... No, they come wired like this, and it's terrifying. But there's a switch so that, yeah, if you're a wiring crazy person, then you can do that, and it's terrifying. But these are, 300 to 330 euros for these. And I don't usually cover low-cost guitars on the show because it's not usually what we do, but I did get to play these. And they sounded great. They certainly knocked my old Sun Mustang, the Fender Strat copy, out of the water from before it got modified. Now the guitar that I have is better than these, but I've spent the best part of £1,000 on it.
Yeah.
So it better be good at this point.
That guitar is the equivalent of having like a souped up like Nissan Micra, isn't it?
Pretty much. It is, yeah. It is the sleeper build. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's like a Ford Fiesta that looks like it's clapped out and then can beat a Ferrari.
Yeah, it's like got one of those like farting exhausts and a big wing on the back of it and LEDs and stuff.
Oh yeah, it is a bit of a boy racer of a guitar, to be fair. But yeah, these very classy, very affordable. These are like the Kia of the guitar world. They're just inexpensive. They do a thing. They do it well. Never going to win any fanciness awards. But to be fair, Ibanez have the prestige line if you do want to be pretty and expensive and nice and handmade and all that kind of thing. So yeah, that's a thing. If you want an affordable guitar, go get them. Moving on. Focusrite have now just announced the Claret Plus, which is basically the Claret Mark II, but I'm guessing they didn't want to use Mark II terminology because that can get confusing. So these are improved converters and preamps for higher fidelity, which they were already fairly decent. But yeah, let's have a look. Right, so there's the air button still on the rack version. I don't see the... Oh, yeah, so the air button is on all of them, actually. It's still there. It's the thing I like the least about the Claret series is they've got this air function, which makes everything sound airy by using some clever EQ shifting that in a mix makes it sound kind of horrible. It's a people-pleaser button. But if you don't use it, it's actually a perfectly serviceable piece of gear. Yeah, but yeah, these are... I wonder if this is a clever marketing tactic from Focusrite, because if they've upgraded the converters and preamps, were they using AKM components from the factory that set fire? And so they've redesigned it with different chips that are slightly higher class, but from a different manufacturer. So they've turned this into a marketing plus. They've gone, hey, we can't get those old components, so we'll make it better and charge you a bit more. And because it's got a plus, we can charge you more. And ta-da!
Maybe.
Let's have a look at the prices. Yeah, so it's €489 for the 2-channel version.
That's some money.
That's some money. Considering the ID14 Mark II that I've got back there is, what, 300 or less? Let's just see how much that is. Puppy power. That's £178 right now. So what, €200? 220 at Thomann, something like that. So it's twice the price for what is probably not better. I mean, the original appeal of the Claret was that it was a Thunderbolt interface, and then they found that nobody was buying Thunderbolt, so they made a USB version, and that's probably sold in droves. And so now they just make the USB version. Which, yeah, it's got a USB-C connector on, and it's just standard USB-C. And I'm going to guess that the latency isn't amazing on them either. That's, again, not to put Focusrite down, but it's the same chips that's in the Scarlett stuff for the talking between the interface and the computer. And so, yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. Also, yeah, Van Dien says, don't like the idea that everything's done via software on the new Focusrite stuff. It doesn't play well with Linux. Yeah. I mean, it depends what you want to do, because arguably everything's done in software on the Audient stuff as well, but depends what you want to do, because everything you actually need is just straight ahead on controls. Unless you want to get clever. But yeah, there you go. So if you want that, I mean, it's a bit odd to me that it's nearly €500 for the 2-channel and less than €1,000 for the 8-channel. So if I was going to get one, I'd get the 8-channel because that's better value. 4 times as many channels for twice the price. No brainer. I do need to. That reminds me, I need to get my Arturia audio fuse back, because on stream this week we found that I was running out of channels on the Audient. As great as it is, I need more than 2 ins and 4 outs. Oh, hey Scott. Scott says that, so now that you're married, does that mean our date together is off? Never. Always got time for you. But yeah, go out and buy one of those or don't. Moving on. Gibson, small guitar manufacturer, very authentic. There's a little fly on my screen. There we go. Is reissuing the 1958 Carina Flying V in Explorers again. Exciting. The Carina stuff didn't sell originally.
Right.
Which was weird, because when they were first made in 1958, the Flying V and the Explorer were considered like, weird, futuristic. Nobody wants that. What is that? That's awful. And they sounded incredible. And so years later, when a few people got them and were like, holy moly, I'm going to play this forever, they then became highly sought after. Which is a phrase that really winds me up, because you see a lot of stuff on like eBay or Facebook Marketplace. It says highly sought after, and you're like, mate, if it was highly sought after, it wouldn't be sat on Facebook Marketplace for 3 weeks. But I digress. So they're rerunning them with doing the Murphy Labs thing, so they're going to slightly age them. They've scanned original guitars, so the spec should measure up. So they're going to come in at a much lower price point of $10,000.
Oh, 3?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, 9,999.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Cranar's in chat. You're right, dude. Cranar Silky, everybody say hello to Cranar in chat. He's somebody I met at Gear Street. Really cool guy. He plays some really cool blues guitar. Everyone should go and follow him, because he's awesome.
Yeah, do it in another tab. Stay here, follow him.
Yeah,
like some of his videos.
Right-click,
come back here,
open a new tab.
When we bugger off, go watch all this stuff.
Absolutely.
There you go.
So yeah, apparently these are super accurate. No weight relief, so they're going to weigh a ton. Fretboard is Indian rosewood. Now that the CITES stuff is all kind of okay now, thank goodness. Do you remember that whole thing about the wood regulations and CITES regulations? And
nope.
There was a big deal when we started the podcast that not just Gibson, but everybody had to have massive paperwork for certain restricted types of woods, like Indian rosewood and Brazilian rosewood, because you weren't allowed to use it for things like furniture. And at the time, guitars were considered part of that, which is really stupid.
Right.
But it was to protect these rare endangered types of trees. So it made sense, but the idea was if you had the proper paperwork, like if the wood had been cut down years prior and had just been sat in a warehouse, then you could do things with it. Or like if you had a guitar that you were selling, but the wood it was made of was then considered antique or whatever, then that was fine. They finally come to their senses and said, you know what, if it's for a guitar and it's on a guitar, it's probably fine, move along. Because people stood up and said, hey, this is stupid. But yeah, you can't just go and make like a bedside cabinet out of rare Brazilian rosewood these days.
No.
I don't think instruments are completely exempt, Poo Ninja, but I think it's much, much easier with the paperwork now. They found a certain exemption. Yeah, Perfecto's saying Brazilian rosewood's still banned. I don't know about banned. I think there are ways, but it has to be super above board. But Brazilian rosewood is a notable example of being like ultra red list. No. But there's a lot of the restrictions, as far as I know, have been not lifted. Lifted's the wrong word, but they've come to understandings that there are certain types of wood that shouldn't have been on there. That they've gone like, look, this isn't a rare species. There are certain. It's easier to cross borders with instruments that have already been made, etc., etc. Yeah, so it's not perfect, but yeah, hello, Perfecto. Perfecto's another guy that I met. He's awesome. Perfecto really shreds it on guitar, and yeah, he's got over 1 million subscribers and is in my chat. So thank you very much for stopping in. It's massively appreciated.
Hello.
But yeah, if you want to buy these from Toman right now, cheap price. They've even knocked €1 off just because they were feeling generous.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Bargain.
So there you go. If you want one of those, and I kind of do want the Explorer with the black pickguard, but not for that amount of money.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
For that kind of money, I could go and buy a Nick Huber. And those are really amazing people who spend all the time on every instrument.
Yeah, there's a lot of custom guitars you could get built for that, isn't there?
Yeah. I played a Nick Huber bass while I was at Gear Street, and I think they retail at 5,000 or 6,000 euros. But they're the kind of thing where a guy or two guys will spend weeks of their lives making this thing.
Got you.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, they probably do at Gibson, but they're not, throwing 3 extra €1,000 on to please their corporate overlords. So, yeah, there you go.
Hail corporate
Overlords. This podcast brought to you by Gibson. No. So, Danny Gable says, I can build you a guitar way cheaper. Well, I can build myself a guitar way cheaper, but
I'm good though.
There you go. That's it. That's the key. I'm not a like 20, 30 year master builder. I could build a guitar and you would look at it and go, what the hell is that?
I've been building Lego for about that time.
Yeah. So yeah, this is something that's come up. Have you heard of Klon? The Klon pedal?
Nope.
Right. So there's one guy called Bill Finnegan who makes a pedal called the Klon.
Right.
And
John Klon.
Not John Klon.
Okay.
And he's been making them since the 90s, or at least he was hand making every single one. And he stopped making them, and they started selling for stupid amounts of money.
Okay.
Like
supply and demand.
Yeah, but like super supply and demand, like because they were unobtainium and they had this mythos around them because the insides were covered in like black epoxy goo, so you couldn't work out what it was that he'd done and stuff.
All right.
And yeah, so it was a real thing. And so years later, he stopped making them. He starts making them again in this red case. They're called the Klon KTR at this point.
Okay.
He's making them with another company. I think it's J Rocket that are making them for him, but under his design. Mm-hmm. And they were using these like magic chips that you just couldn't find. Mm-hmm. That was part of the unobtainium, these diodes that you just can't get. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, he made this announcement this week saying he's been trying for years to find more of these magic diodes, and they've run out.
Oh no.
So they're going to make a new version of the KTR, like a KTR 2.0 that's got something different in it. And
Ooh.
I reckon it's going to sound almost exactly the same. But that does mean that all the cork sniffers and proper guitar nerds are going to be like, well, it's not the same, so it's not worth the same amount of money, which means the old versions, the value's probably going to go up. And the new version's probably still going to sell anyway but yeah, that's the original Klon pedal. Big fat gold thing, and he also made some with horse centaurs on the front. He made some that were silver, but every single one was custom made by him. And a few years back, he started custom making. Every now and again, he'll make one and sell it for charity.
Right.
Kind of because he can, I guess. So yeah, there you go. He still does some every now and again, but only because he wants to. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, he's fully self-aware, which is why on the front of every KTR, which is the new version, he's aware of the hype. So it says, kindly remember, the ridiculous hype that offends so many is not of my making.
That's cool.
Yeah. And there's a little buffer on the side, buffer switch that says, the left is almost always better and the right is almost always worse. He's giving you the choice. So there you go. Yeah, Bill Finnegan, everybody. So, moving on. Quickly, Dan Corneff from Corneff Audio, monster of an engineer, recorded Paramore's Riot album, amongst other things. So that Misery Business sound with that massive sound, that's Dan Corneff. And so he's now programming his own plugins, and he's made a plugin that's got two of the classic reverbs from the 80s. Very like Phil Collins In the Air Tonight stuff. And so yeah, less than $20, micro digital reverberator. I might just buy that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, his plugins do sound really, really good. So yeah, one is modeled after the original Alesis microverb, and the other one emulates a later unit. It doesn't say which one, but it looks very much like the AMS reverb delay unit that you could get that did that that thing. And yeah, I mean, it's an introductory price of $20. Regular price will be $30, so it's not going to be crazy money anyway. And there's even little pots that you can change inside if you really, really want. If you really, really want. So yeah, if that takes you fancy, go get it. Dan Corneff's a nice dude, and he makes really good sounding plugins. So yeah, and he's made some really good tracks, and he knows his stuff. He's the kind of guy who's just on all the time. He still mixes, and he still builds his own hardware equipment. And when it's not right, he fixes it. He's one of those people he's got a mixing room, and there's a soldering iron on the side just ready to go all the time. It's one of those proper scientific nutcases. So, moving on. Walrus Audio's new Eras pedal has every kind of distortion you can imagine. I released a video about this a few days ago with Paul Davids from the channel, Paul Davids Guitar. And again, very grateful to do the thing with Paul, because his channel's huge, like 2.5 million subscribers and going strong. He's crushing it right now. Whoa. And I went up to him on day one. I was like, "Hi, Paul. I'm Adam. Can I do a video with you?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay, cool. What are we doing?" What a lovely guy. So yeah, this thing does 5 completely different types of distortion, and it's got a blend, and that is the killer feature for me. Most distortion pedals, you turn them on, they do their thing, and they only do their thing. So, like the old Boss DS1, the famous Kurt Cobain distortion, you turn it on and it goes... Whereas this, with the blend control, you can back that off and have the kind of clean sound in with the drive. So you can get what I liked with it was on guitar, just getting a little bit of the original sound in, just to get a little bit of that attack and that original guitarist back. And then choosing the mode and then blending that kind of stuff in, and it worked really well because Paul Davids, he's not known for like shredding. He's a light gain blues kind of guy, But we got a really nice, kind of clean guitar tone and just added in just a touch of drive with this thing. And it sounded really full and alive, but we could still hear him and what he was doing.
Cool.
Yeah, really nice. So yeah, it's got the different modes, and on bass it sounded great as well. Talking of Nick Huber before, one of the videos that I've filmed is with a Nick Huber bass and with this pedal, and it sounds huge. So yes, that's coming out very soon. I need to organise release dates for all this stuff because I've gone from not having videos to having videos. So yeah, I need to work out which one's going out first, which ones can't go out yet because the thing's not been announced yet, etc., etc. And yeah, then we'll get a plan together. And so yeah, we'll give them all to the patrons in quick succession as well. So, moving on. There's a guy from a band called Dragon Force, called Herman Lee. Herman Lee from Dragon Force. Is now a PRS artist. That is, I never thought I'd see the day. But yeah, so the guitar on the right is the body of his original Ibanez signature guitar. With, you can just see the cutouts for the fingers of the grip on the side. That was a very Herman Lee Dragon Force thing. And so, that's a better photo. You can see more going on there. So the PRS that he's just had made is the Herman Lee signature model. Now, PRS don't do any other guitars with this kind of shape. You can see this big scoop from the top to bottom there. I don't think PRS make any other guitars even remotely like that. So that's a real new thing, and I really like that shape, and I've been kind of wishing that PRS did more of that. The closest that I've seen is the one I have, actually, which is the Tremonti. Which I'll just grab. So, if you look at this side, it's very similar to the Herman Lee, but the Herman Lee has more frets, so it actually goes down to about here, which means this scoop must be way deeper. But this side doesn't come up at all, which means the balance is quite different. So, the Herman Lee goes to about there. It's got a very long horn, and this one has no horn because it's more like a Les Paul. Oh, I'm just going to put that down. So, yeah, Herman Lee's been absolutely crushing it on Twitch recently.
All right.
One of the biggest Twitch channels for guitar in the world. He's absolutely killing it. And so all the guitar manufacturers, I would imagine, are now knocking his door down. Because he's on there pretty much every day, and just playing covers, showing people new gear. He's got a massive fan base. So Paul's super good with custom design, says Joey. Yeah, he kind of is, but PRS as a company move quite slowly, I guess, because they're not really as big as everyone thinks they are. They have their SE models, which sell in squillions, but they're actually made in, I think it's the Court factory in Korea.
Right.
And so they're almost a different business entirely. So the actual PRS factory, they don't make that many guitars. Especially not at the price points where you're talking like $3,000 and up.
Yeah.
Like I was saying with Nick Huber, those kind of companies, a person will make these guitars, and it'll although there is a little bit more of a factory style with PRS where like the spray guy will do the spray and like the body guy will do the body, whereas like Nick Huber will have, this is Nick, he does everything, this is this guy, he also does everything. You know, they're a bit more optimized at PRS, but even so, it's all like master craftsmen doing master grade work, which is why they cost a lot. Is there anything? No, there's nothing anywhere that says how much one's going to cost yet. So, we'll have to wait and see how much these cost. But I'm going to take a stab at about $4,000 or euros, which is not cheap, but I mean, it looks, it's got an Ibanez bridge in it as well. What the heck? But if that was a hardtail model, I would probably buy that.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that it's a big horn and a big scoop, that works for me. I mean, I don't know. I'm a bass player anyway, so what do I know? But yes, it's gone from the slightly gaudy Ibanez to the slightly more classy PRS. So, last but not least, Roly, who make these keyboards where you kind of slide around, have filed for bankruptcy. And yeah, at the same time, the designers have actually managed to make a new company called Luminary, which is a little bit weird. So yeah, this struck me as one of the biggest fails in the music industry of the last 10 years. Because so many musical instrument companies, as soon as the pandemic started, have never sold as much in their lives. Mm-hmm. They are absolutely swamped with orders. They can't get them out fast enough. Yep. Bank account very full. People very happy. Mm-hmm. Roly, not so much. I mean, they make the Seaboard. And apparently there's been some just really weird stuff going on in the company. So, yeah, what was it they were saying? So they made revenues. They were still a relatively small niche company. So the filings up to June 30th, 2019, because of course, you know, we can read public filings up to a certain point. They made revenues in that year of 11.4 million and pre-tax losses of 34 million. Apparently, they were spending weird money on stuff like yoga specialists and the kind of the kind of frivolity that you see in, I don't know, when Google are trying to be cutting edge and they're doing all that kind of stuff, but they're a multi-trillion company and can just splash money on whatever the hell they feel like. Mm-hmm. I think they were trying to live that life to a point and not bringing in the sales to match it.
Yeah, that's not good.
I mean, if they weren't pushing the Seaboard, which was a bit of a weird product to begin with, but yeah, if they weren't pushing that, yeah, I mean, so they were making this hardware that probably wasn't selling because they didn't explain it very well. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was overpriced, honestly. So that's a Seaboard. I think that was over €1,000 for that. And it's a keyboard, and you can bend between notes and stuff. And technology-wise, it's very cool. Jordan Rudess, who's one of my heroes, was a big proponent of the Roly stuff for a long time. And actually, thinking about it, I haven't seen him play one in a few years now. Maybe he knew something we didn't, but was kind of contractually obligated to not say much. Because that happens in the industry a lot, where if you know something's going, you quietly jump ship and just don't say anything, and you know, just go and do something else. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, they did make these things with the Lumi keys, and they made these blocks where you could snap them together. But they're never going to sell huge amounts because they look flimsy, because you're just kind of like clicking things together, so you touch it and it falls apart. And it's like, if you're a proper synth nerd, you're probably going to buy that. But if you're the everyday user looking for something to get at home to play with during a lockdown, probably not that.
No.
Whereas if they just made a normal, regular keyboard as well, how many people would have just eaten it out of their hands during the lockdown? So, yeah, there you go. Yeah, so, and they're trying to do things like $80 yearly subscriptions for whatever the heck that is. Yeah, nah, I'm good. Don't want to be paying subscription services for software for hardware that I've already bought. One or the other, please.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where companies like, what's the other one? Peloton, if they've not already crashed, they're going to crash hard, because it's like you're spending all the money on a hardware thing, and then it's like, well, now you've got to pay a subscription to use the thing you already bought. No.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason why I didn't go for one. But I mean, they're not for. There's an argument for it because it is like a gym membership on top. And one of the interesting things with Peloton is they have recently acquired recently, about 2 or 3 months ago, they bought one of the biggest gym manufacturing equipment companies in the
Right.
world. So the thinking is maybe they're going to start actually wanting to go into gyms and get them in gyms as well and create the whole Peloton class online thing as a whole infrastructure where you can do it in a gym or at home and go for that sort of be the Netflix essentially of working out.
Yeah, I can see that, but right now that's not the proposition. That's an if and a maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Right now the proposition is buy our thing and then pay to use the thing you bought. And it's like, well, no. If I'm going to spend thousands on this thing, I want it to just work.
I would have been okay paying something, but I think it was like another 35 quid per person.
Yeah.
That was the thing. That was it, actually.
Right.
It was the having different accounts. So it meant that like me and Ash, we would have to pay it separately. And I was like, nah, if it was just 35 quid for a household, we might have gone for it. But instead, we ended up just buying gym equipment from Amazon.
That's even worse. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I can appreciate spending good money on good hardware if you know you're going to use it. Mm-hmm. No issue with that. As someone with expensive equipment, if it's going to be used as for someone who knows their stuff, cares, and it's not going to break, great. If it comes with extra services like apps and gym stuff, also great. If you're then going to charge me on top of it recurring to use the thing in anything other than a basic way, nah. That's the thing. Like, I probably pay, I don't know how much I pay per month for some of the apps that I use on my phone, for example. Mm-hmm. None of them are mandatory. That's the thing. If I want to use this as nothing but a call and text box, I've paid for it. So that's it. The other thing is, no, I've not paid for it. I do pay for it monthly, but I didn't pay an upfront cost. That's it. If the thing was like, here's your bike, it's 70 quid a month, but it comes with the thing rather than you paid £2,000, now it's £35 a month.
You do pay for the bike monthly as well.
Right. How much was it roughly, if you remember?
It was about 40 quid.
Oh, is that a 2-year contract?
I can't remember, but it's interest free.
It depends how long you've got to pay it off for, but it's all relative. I don't know, but yeah, paying for software for hardware that you've already paid for is just a thing that irks me.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Cough, cough, antelope, cough, cough, says Danny. Yes, we did cover them a couple of weeks ago. That was the big gripe with them. It's a perfect analogy, actually. Yeah, thank you, Danny. That we talked about it as one of our headline articles, that Antelope were charging like €2,000 for a really nice interface, which you would pay for such quality. And then they were like, oh, if you want this plugin that probably should have come with it, that's another €200. Yeah. UAD are another great example. It's like, oh, you've paid €2,000 for this really nice interface, and it comes with 4 audio plugins, or 5. It's like, oh, we've got another library of 30 or 40, and they're $300 or $400 each. It's like, no, I've paid thousands for this. Why am I paying that much more for the thing that I can only use with your closed system? So yeah, that's. I don't know. It's a good way to shut consumers off, and that's probably a part of why Rolly went bankrupt in the end, as well as like what sounds like massive mismanagement. But that's allegedly, reportedly, hearsay. Yes, but there you go. So yeah, the software apparently is coming back under a different company. We'll see how that goes. There's nothing from Behringer, unfortunately, this week.
No Behringer Corner?
I'm just going to search Behringer and see if there's anything in Behringer Corner. If it decides to load. What do you mean connecting? It can't be that hard to connect. Behringer have added a mix sequencer module to the 2500 range. So that's a thing. Sequencers are always good in synths. Okay, I don't quite know what this means. It looks clever, and the kind of clever that makes my head hurt. That's the kind of thing that synth nerds would be like, oh, you just unsqueeble the squooble. Seems like the kind of thing that, proper synth nerds who talk all the language of synth would just look at me like, isn't it obvious? Duh, you just do this. It's like, guys. Oh, right. No, I think I get it. So there's 8 different audio inputs, and you can use it like a mixer, but then also you can step sequence between it, I think. So you can have like different audio bits that pop in and out on a timer type thing. Yeah. Okay, so that's the thing from Behringer. Behringer Corner, everybody. Ba-dum, bam, ba-dum, bam. And that was Zin News. Zin News. So, it's warm.
It's very warm.
So, question from Rob. Now's a good time to get your questions in chat, everybody. So Rob says, what kind of reputation does Tascam have over there? I quite like their interfaces. High-end Tascam stuff is rock solid. Low-end Tascam stuff, in my experience, is cheaper than it has a right to be for its price. You know, it's like noisy preamps, flimsy hardware. There is a certain price point, maybe it's £200 or £300 for like the field recorders. Their lowest end field recorder is not great. Then the next one is really quite solid. Then the next one is really good. There seems to be a bit of a disparity on Tascam stuff, and there always has been, where their entry-level offering in whatever it is they do is garbage. But then the mid-tier is pretty good, and the high tier is like really good. Which is weird because it makes it hard to be like a devoted follower of a company like Tascam, because you can't just say all of their stuff is good, because then you kind of have to sweep the cheap stuff under the carpet and pretend that you didn't see it, which is really hard to do if you're being open and honest with your viewers. I do have one of their tiny little things which clips on the underside of a microphone, which works with dynamic mics, which has got a little micro SD recorder in it. And so that's really handy. We took that to NAMM, and it meant that there was no wireless interference or anything, because there's no wireless at all. It's literally just click straight on, and really quite useful. I think that was about 70 quid and was rock solid for what it does. So yeah, Joey says Tascam are better than Behringer for me personally. Well, again, it's the price point thing. I've used some good Behringer gear. I've used a lot of terrible Behringer gear. I've used some awful Tascam gear, and as you go up the price point, Tascam stuff becomes bearable, then really dependable, then really quite impressive. So it's an odd one, Tascam. And TIAC. They're old tape machines. If you can find a reel-to-reel TIAC tape machine, or an 8-channel Tascam machine, those things are really good for the money. And that's why they're hard to find and quite expensive, actually. Some of the first mixing I ever did was on a Tascam 24-track console. Big, full analog console, and that thing sounded incredible. Never seen another one since. Which is a shame. But yeah, the Tascam digital mixers were always average at best.
We used a Tascam recorder on a shoot the other week.
Yes, we did, and that was one of the ones. That was one of the ones that I would describe as the high end. High end stuff, cracking, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, there's that. I think it's the DR6 or DR60. The original one of them is one of the little recorders that sits underneath a DSLR. That thing was not impressive at all. Whereas the model up, the DR70, which is a slightly bigger one, was really quite decent. And then the stuff above that is the stuff that professionals just kind of pat and go, yeah, that works for me. Yeah. Rob says, I understand the price point. Probably using mid-tier, but super happy. I mean, if it works for you, it works. Harder to find these days, though. Yeah. Tascam 48s are still super popular around here. Tascam 48. Oh, yeah, the reel-to-reel stuff. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the X48s, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Tascam's tape decks, if they're kept in good condition, are actually really quite solid. It's just that, yeah, Tascam, I think, are one of those companies that made the mistake, in my opinion, of trying to cater to the bottom of the barrel, lowest common denominator audience by cutting the wrong corners. And so they end up making an inferior product compared to the competitors at that price point, which then ends up giving them the bad reputation, which is hard to claw back, because if you're younger and if you get to try all your friends' equipment and your equipment, and one of them's got Tascam and they're always complaining about how bad it is, that sticks with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't know. Scott says green olives or black olives, and why is the answer green olives with lemon? Nah, olive juice, not olive juice, olive juice, olive oil, or a nuclear meltdown. Those are your two options. Olives are not food.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I tried one once.
Olives are what you take the pits out of and burn in biomass burners to try and provide electricity. Because, yeah, olives are not food. Anyone who thinks olives are food has a blackened soul.
My wife likes olives.
Yeah, and what's her screen name? Raven? Blackened soul. it's all those olives. That's what it is.
Fair.
Mickey likes olives as well, and she's weird. Yeah. Olives are the worst.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Anyone else got any good questions for us before we say goodbye? Because I need to open a couple of windows. I am absolutely sweating. I closed the windows earlier because it started hoofing it down with rain and was blasting rain in the window, which isn't ideal onto the keyboards.
It's not the best. It's 9:45.
Oh, wow.
It is. Late, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We started half an hour late. Scott's contribution to the stream is that he's eating olives. Good work, Scott. I had to teach Scott how to plug in an amp earlier. Good job, little buddy.
His soul is getting darker by the minute.
Yes, quite. Well, now he can make noise. He's got an angle, so he's very, very happy. Sharp cheddar cheese or blue cheese, and why blue cheese sucks. Sharp cheddar cheese, yes, cheddar cheese. Blue cheese is cheese gone wrong. Who thought, I'm going to take milk, I'm going to let it go off, and I'm going to shake off the liquid, and then I'm going to let it go mouldy.
No,
and I'm going to
put sticks in it to make it go mouldy.
Yeah, and then, yeah. And then I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to enjoy it. What kind of psycho?
It smells like bad feet.
Yeah.
But I will say that I've never liked blue cheese until my brother-in-law made me try some really, really, really old blue cheese, so like super smelly, alongside a very, 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 very good port. And that actually is a combination that goes very, very well.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I could bake an entire camembert and then just eat it with bread. That would be nice.
Yeah, very smelly cheese and port is the only time I'll eat smelly cheese. Other than that,
yeah, give me smelly cheese and port. Just forget the cheese. Just the port is fine. I do like port. Oh, yes. Me and Mickey went to Porto several years ago, and the number of types of port there are is astounding. And you can only remember so many of them because after you've tasted about the 12th one, they're like, and here's a different type. And you're like, it's great. Marty says, when's the new Patreon video going up? Tomorrow, Marty. Tomorrow I will take some time to upload several videos for patrons. Sorry, Marty, I don't know if you missed that at the top of the stream, but I said, for anyone who missed it, that we're going to do a kind of a mega dump of several videos for the patrons to watch. Just because we know we've been behind with Gear Street and the wedding and all that kind of stuff. Wedding! So, yes. Going to make up for it by just going stump. Lots of videos. Have fun. So, yeah. what was the other question that I saw in there? Favorite WWE wrestler? You mean WWF wrestler, Joey? Let's get it right. And I know who my favorite wrestler is, and it only takes one phrase. If you smell. Yeah.
Remember we didn't watch wrestling for 10 years, and then we decided to get pissed and watch WrestleMania because it was The Rock versus John Cena.
Oh, and it was brilliant.
That was ace.
Yeah.
That was a good night.
Oh, yeah. Match 1, Sheamus flies out. Oh, that was brilliant. What a night that was.
That was a good laugh.
Yeah. I do like a little bit of wrestling every now and again, but
Yeah.
a little bit does you good because it's just silly and fun. Although, yeah, it seems like WWE are kind of in trouble recently because, yeah, the pandemic did not do well for them. And especially with All Elite Wrestling now coming and just absolutely dominating. They've come out of nowhere.
My official favorite wrestler was always Bret the Hitman Hart. But I think with everything that happened, it probably ended up being the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, because that guy had a really hard life, and he was his brother-in-law, I think. The Hart family.
Yeah.
That's the epitome of wrestling for me.
Yeah. I think
all of them.
I got into it later than you did, so I had very little exposure to the Hart family. But yeah, I really got into wrestling in the Attitude Era, and The Rock was perfect. And I mean, I didn't even love him ironically or anything. Right at that point, he was just the hero.
I mean, watching. I don't watch anymore. I'm not watching for years, but I was watching from WrestleMania 7.
Yeah, you were really into it from.
Yeah, it was just when I was really little. I had it on VHS.
Right. Yeah, it was. It wasn't really a thing. We didn't have like Sky or anything like that when I was a kid. And then for some reason, Channel 4, which is one of the only 5 channels that we had in the UK back then, decided to start airing WrestleMania every year. And God only knows how they managed to get the licensing for that. But I remember being up till like the middle of the night as a 12-year-old, just being like, this is amazing. Best thing ever. But yeah, Joey says, big fan of Asuka. Yeah, Asuka's cool. I'm trying to think. There's not really that many that I like these days. Always been a fan of Chris Jericho. Listened to his podcast for years. Only stopped listening a few months back because I just got a bit burnt out on it. But I've always liked him. Did you know that Chris Jericho is a qualified graduate journalist?
Nope.
Yeah, he graduated from journalism and was a journalist before he started wrestling, which is why he's really good at the podcast, because journalism skills. So yeah, he gets guests on and he asks some really good questions. So yeah, he's really interesting. I was actually listening to the Chris Jericho podcast while I was getting dressed for the wedding.
Oh really?
Yeah, he had. I didn't manage to listen to much of it because we were kind of busy. But he had Rick Rubin on, who was talking about the new Red Hot Chili Peppers album. Yeah, so there's some really interesting stuff on that podcast.
Very cool.
And also Jericho goes and tours with his own rock band. So, you know, winner. But yeah.
On that note.
Yes, on that note, thank you everybody for tuning in. I'll be releasing another video tomorrow because I need to get these out to your lovely eyes somehow. And so thank you everybody for watching. Stay tuned for that. And then I'll be doing another mix stream Monday and then another video drop Tuesday. And then we'll see you again on Thursday. And then you won't see me on the Friday because I'm going to PJD Guitars in York for a day. So that's going to be interesting. I'll try and live stream a little bit from there. Probably little bits rather than a full live stream video. So thank you everybody. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hey everyone. That might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server. Link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at HotPolsStew.